Hello and welcome to the channel. So I've been doing videos from other projects recently because I've been waiting for parts to arrive for the autonomous TRX-6 and they're still on the way. Some are in the customs, so waiting for to get those, and as soon as they come I'm able to continue with this project and post more videos. What I'm doing in this video is taking a look at these hubs and also these axle housings. One of the things I was troubled because I had this in the rear here, it didn't work out at all, and the same I replaced this plastic one here. What's so different in these that the original plastic parts work with these metal treal axle housings, and these axle housing or differential covers cause that the diffs are not working in the rear, whereas in the front it worked just fine. And I just want to make the difference that I put the plastic ones here and they immediately, without any shimming, adjustments, anything, they worked immediately. So I don't know what. So I'm going to take a look at these and maybe try to modify these to see what the situations. I think this is so different from the others that I think I will start with the rear. This one didn't work at all. This one worked sometimes, not all of the time. So I will start with this one and open this up and see the difference between this and the original, the plastic one, which is now here, and the original one. Interesting enough, this one is so glary. The edge, interesting. Wow, it's quite a difference. There was only a few small differences that I could notice there. Of course, the question comes, is this edge here, which is that's a raised edge here, is it low enough? Is it wide enough? Because this is much wider, obviously, gap. The second one is here, the edges of this gap are rounded, whereas here there's plain square, like this. So does it mean that it's actually getting stuck in those corners are preventing it from moving far enough? Yeah, I will definitely need to take some measurements out of these to see the depths from this reference surface, that they are the same. If they are the same, and the other dimensions, I will make the measurements and then come back to you in this video about that. So if the measurements are the same, then it's these corners here, which I think are made due to the realities how you need to do casting, but they could have milled this, but they didn't. So is this the reason why it's not moving? These corners. Let's see again in here. So if the corners, since they're round, it would only suggest that the corners might be hitting these points here, this point here, and not able to move sufficiently back and forth. That's quite interesting, because there's no other reason why I see why this would not work. Well, I need to do some measurements between these. Okay, be back at that. After doing some measurements of these parts, well, they seem to be quite similar. I mean, they have obvious differences in certain parts, but not too bad. My theory that the biggest differences are definitely in this part. I'm a bit surprised because, like other parts here, they managed to replicate almost the same way. Why they didn't do this? But this is just purely speculation now. So what I'm going to do is take this metal one. Anyway, it doesn't work, so I'm going to take and grind and use a Dremel or some other tool to sharpen the edges, remove this kind of like chamfers, basically rounded edges. Instead of here, the bottom part of this groove, it's got sharp 90-degree angle. In this one, there's round corners like this. So I'm trying to take those round corners out, make it as close to this one as possible. There were some smaller differences. I'm not sure if they would also donate to Taikung or be a reason to the thing why it doesn't work or works randomly. I mean, this one did sometimes work, whereas the middle one didn't work at all. So this one is definitely a smaller issue. But with this one, the advantage is this is a more solid aluminum block. It's not shaped according to the insides. So there's most likely more chance of taking material out of there without going through this structure. So I will now start working on that one, and then let's see what the result will be. Okay, here's the modified one. So I ground out quite a lot of metal to make it a bit bigger and to make the corners as square as possible. Yeah. One of the biggest problems when you modify parts like this is not the modification itself, but the fact that when you use metal to take strips of like equipment, like Dremel or something, to remove metal, and there will be small particles of metal remaining in all kind of small corners and crevices, and those need to be removed very accurately, because when they go in here and start to mix with the lubrication and go into the different parts, they start wearing out things, they block things, they destroy bearings. So it's cleaning is a very big importance. I'm using these, Fairy, all kind of, if you have equipment to wash machine parts. Dishwasher works perfectly, ultrasound, so just important is get all the small pieces of metal out from every hole possible, that it doesn't go into the transmission. Okay, next I will put it in place. Okay, so what have I done? I tried this one in place. Didn't work. There's clearly enough space here to move. Still didn't work. Well, I put the old plastic part in place and it started working perfectly again. Had some weird problems with the diff servos. I don't know why they didn't made funny sounds. Then I just drove it again and it was perfect. What I found out comparing to this one of the problems seems to be not the space necessarily, but I don't know if you can see, but there's an indentation there, and this one, there's a slot for the lever of the clutch arm or whatever you call it to move, but it's not all the way to the slot where the arm is. So basically there's 2 points which acts as kind of like pivot points, pushing and making sure that the gray lever part of the diff, which unlocks and locks it, stays in place. And when I put this one in place, well, I believe this is what happened, is that because this gap here is completely open, and it wasn't, as you see, it's black color still, so I didn't open it up with my Dremel. The problem is that there's no similar spot here, or even actually, I know I ground this out a lot, but there was no similar spot here to support. So I put it back to support the lever from the pivot points, which are like from up and down where it's moving. So when you pull the cable here, it's just pulling the thing up and down, and instead of converting the linear motion, to rotary, it's just moving it around there. It's not directing it directly towards left, right, because it requires quite a lot of torque to push it, force to push it in place. So if there's any gap here in the motion of it, it's not able to push it in place. Here's an example of another cover, not for that rear part. The second problem they have is all this if you compare it to exactly identical Traxxas part. There's quite a lot of differences. Within Traxxas, there's quite strict alignments for the bearings, because when I put this diff cover on, it's really alignment is here and there. Is it working, not working, what's going on? Really difficult to tell. So if you put one time it in place, the metal one, it's okay. Another time you hear grinding, it's not. So the alignment is never perfect, because here you have perfect alignment spots made for it. This one is a lot cheaper to make. It's basically, I don't think it's even milled, it's just cast. It will require a lot more work to make this one actually out of metal. There's a lot more details which are clearly designed by Traxxas. I don't know honestly what to do. One choice, I could go to Vitavon axles and buy the center one, because I wanted to have these metal so they would be a bit more robust and maybe even these against impacts. But to me, I don't know. I would need to probably try buy Vitavon. It's really expensive. Try it out and see if it's any better. Maybe I will do that out of interest to you. One is I could try different diff covers. I looked for some other different brands online and they all seem to have the same issues. All very similar. And I start to wonder, are all the diff covers, no matter who makes slightly different top look, different text, all these metal diff covers, are they from the same Chinese company making them? They have so many similarities in making them as cheap as possible, even if you pay a lot more for them. One choice is just to remove the diffs altogether. I actually ordered already this to the front, where you remove the diff from Traxxas original, the part that will lock up permanently. Because anyway, when I was driving the forest with this last time, almost everywhere, if I unlocked the diffs, it started sleeping, didn't go. So I had to drive there all the time with diff. The second problem is that if I would like to, in the autonomous mode, use this in the non-diff mode, I would need to know when which wheels are sleeping to create a traction kind of system. The problem is that I would need to place some sort of gyros accelerometer sensors to know when these are doing what. Alright, so after a lot of diagnosis and stuff, I found out what was the problems. So the first problem was this. This is the front locking diff servo. Well, it just ate itself out. Its pockets are dead. Maybe we'll open it, but yeah. I think it had just at some point, when I was experimenting with different diff covers and adjustments, it just had something happened too much to it and it broke. Anyway, most problems solved. This one is now not working, so I will replace it with a rigid one, maybe even the rear ones, hoping for the cabin to finally arrive. I noticed it's in the customs, has been stuck there for a few days. I got the paints, primers. Yes, I took Tamiya. I don't know, COVID or whatever, I couldn't find any of the other brands, better ones, which I wanted where I live. So, okay, Tamiya was available. There's so many RC shops in the country where I live, so it wasn't a problem. At least now it wasn't. Let's see. Actually, I ordered the color. I plan to make it metallic red. I will explain when I will make a video about the painting and the cabin. I will explain you why I chose this. I have a very personal reason for it. Yeah, unfortunately they sent me only one. I ordered two. Everyone is using COVID as an excuse for bad service. I stopped liking that a lot. It's not a real reason anymore. And yes, I ordered also the blue springs to the rear. That's about it. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment and so on, all that stuff.